In my first video, I talked a little bit about different types of collected editions. As you can see, I've got a good sized stack of them here. And I talked a little bit about the differences between each kind. And I wanted to elaborate on some of those and show all the different kinds that I have and talk about a couple that I don't and why I don't collect them. So I'm going to go through these in order of size, and I'll start with paperbacks and then I'll move on to hardcover. So the smallest collected edition that I know of is a digest. These are obviously smaller than regular comic books. It's coming in at 7 inches tall by 4 1/4 wide. These generally collect 3 stories or something like that. Less panels per page than is normal, so the art is about the same size, but the amount of content is greatly reduced. I've only got 2 of these that were gifted to me not long ago, but they're kind of neat thing to keep in your collection. Then we've got our standard size trade paperback. It's the same size as a regular comic book, so I'm not going to measure that. I'm pretty sure everyone's at least somewhat familiar with a regular trade paperback. I'm going to keep this one handy for reference and comparing with some of the larger editions, though. And these generally collect 5 to 6 issues. Sometimes they collect 8, something like that. Then Marvel has a extensive line of different kinds of trade paperbacks, and they're all branded a different way, and it's kind of annoying. But the first one I'll talk about is an Ultimate Collection. It's just a little bit thicker than a standard trade paperback. And the formatting size is exactly the same. This particular one collects 13 issues, and it's called an Ultimate Collection. Now, when Marvel came up with this Ultimate Collection, it was supposed to mean to the reader that it contains the entire series. This does not. I don't know why they branded it that way and then produced a comic that doesn't contain the whole series, but they did that. This is from Ed Brubaker's run on Captain America, which was 60 or so issues, 50, something like that. Like I said, this only collects 13 or 14 issues. So I don't think they make these anymore, but something to keep an eye out for. And we've got a complete collection. This is, again, complete collection, much like Omnibus, implies that it's the complete collection, but it's not. This is volume 2. Here's volume 1 from that same series. Combined, these do collect the entire series. And each of these has about 20 issues in them. These are a pretty good deal. Cover price on these is $35. And it's a great option where you can get this whole series for $70 as opposed to paying $125 for the Omnibus. And actually, this Omnibus, if it were an Omnibus, the Omnibus version of this is well over it goes for more than cover price. So this is a more affordable way to get those. Marvel also has the Epic Collection. Their intention with these was to collect entire series over time. Each of these collects about 25 issues, 20 to 25, something like that. They started with a bunch of the older series. There was originally only 4 Epic lines. There was one for Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, something else. I don't remember. Yeah, so they put out a couple of these a year from each of those titles, and they are also a great deal. The cover price on this is also $35. It's a bit more content than the complete collections, and it's generally just a solid run of X-Men, or it could contain issues from other series if they cross over and things like that. Like this one has a bunch of Uncanny X-Men issues, and then it's got Nightcrawler 1 through 4, Alpha Flight 1, 2, and an annual. Those also make great fillers in between Omnibus. Now, Image puts out something called Compendiums. This one contains 46 issues of The Walking Dead. I love these. It is a lot of content for, let's see, the cover price on this is $60. You can usually get them for well under cover price though. But that's a lot of comics for $60. And you know, there's no frills in here. There's no back matter. There's nothing extra. It's just the comic printed in there. Where most of these other things have concept art or something in there that's a little bit more than just the comic. And so that's all the trade paperbacks I have. There are two other types of trade paperbacks that are pretty common, that are worthy of mention. There's the Marvel Essential Collection, which is black and white versions of pretty much an Epic collection, but it's all black and white. And DC has a similar product, and I believe it's called Showcase Presents. It's just black and white printed classic issues. So now moving on to hardcovers. We've got our standard size hardcover, same size as a trade paperback. Looks a little bit bigger, but that's just because there's a little bit of space, so you can see between the pages and the top of the book here for the boards. Most hardcovers, as I've mentioned before, come with dust jackets on them. That is true of this one. When reading smaller collected editions like this, I will leave the dust jacket on because they're not in as great of risk of being damaged like the Omnibus are. And just because you don't have all the weight pushing down on it while you're holding it and stuff like that. Marvel also puts out a line called Marvel Masterworks. These collect generally 10 to 15 issues of a comic. Usually they're consecutive issues. Sometimes they will throw in a couple tie-ins or something like that if it's essential for that run. And these are pretty pricey these days. I think they're coming out with a $100 cover price, and I don't entirely understand why. They're really well made, well put together books, but it seems a silly way to collect to me. It's it's not oversized. It's not a remarkably large amount of content, so I'm not a huge fan. But they do have a lot of good stuff in the back. Copies of the original art, and this one even includes 2 entire unlisted full issues in the back. Like this has like the first appearance of Hercules and stuff like that in it, which aren't listed on the contents. So they're kind of neat, but a little expensive for my taste. Then this one's kind of an oddball. This is a foreign book, or it's made by a foreign publisher anyway. It is a little bit bigger than a trade paperback. see you can place it in there on the pages, and you've got like an extra inch, but it's not much taller. And I think that's just how they make them wherever this is made. I want to say it's Germany or Holland, something like that. So I'm not going to get too much into it. I'm not going to bother measuring it. Books of this size are very rare. Or not rare, but uncommon. Now we've got a oversized hardcover. As you can see, it is considerably larger than trade paperback, which makes for better enjoyment of the art. And I will measure these. So a regular trade paperback, let's see, is 10 by 6 3/4. And the actual pages of an oversized hardcover are 10 3/4 by 7 1/8. So it's a little bit bigger art, just a way to showcase the artists. And yeah, that's it. Then we've got our Omnibus, which is generally for collected edition collectors. I think this is the most common format that people want to collect. It's got the oversized art. It's the exact same size as an oversized hardcover. And there's a lot of content in it. So you get a little bang for your buck. You know, this is the entire Planet Hulk storyline, which I want to say is 20 or so issues. Yeah, 25 or so. You know, these range in size big time as far as amount of content. This is a smaller omnibus. A lot of them will be twice this thick. Some will be a little bit smaller. And the prices range from $75 to $150, depending on, you know, how much content there is in it. Now we've got a library edition. This is even bigger than an omnibus as far as the paper that it's printed on. And as you can see, compared to the trade paperback, considerably larger. Let's measure these pages. This comes in at 12 inches by 7 3/4. So that's a pretty good bit bigger than an omnibus or an oversized hardcover. Just to make sure there's a clear comparison there, it's about the same difference as that of a trade paperback to an oversized hardcover. So if you really enjoy the art in a book and it comes out with, they come out with a library edition for it, you might want to consider getting it. It's a really great way to see all the fine details in art. And DC has the Absolute line, which comes in slipcases. So this one's Absolute Watchmen. In my previous video, I said that these generally collect about 20 issues. That is not entirely accurate. You know, I have one Absolute that collects only one issue, but it has a couple different versions of it. The Killing Joke is that one. So it's got the Killing Joke printed in it twice. It's got it in black and white, and then its original coloring. And obviously Watchmen is a 12-issue series, so this does not collect 20 issues. So it's got the slipcase. This one is the only Absolute I've ever seen that has a dust jacket. On a book this size, I would definitely take the dust jacket off before reading it. And absolutes are really great about putting in extra material beyond the story. So all of this is character design and detailed notes about how these characters are built. And I don't even know what else is back here. There's tons of material that is not the original comic books in this book. So that's fun. Oh yeah. And then in between the issues, there's even some. And these should be the same size as the library editions. Let's see. Yeah, this is a hair over 12 inches by 8. So this is a little bit bigger than the library edition. And finally, there are custom binds. So some people will custom bind single issues of their own into a hardcover book. I taught myself to do it. It's not quite as pretty as those that are professionally done, but it's really fun. You can choose what content goes in. Obviously, it's the same size as a comic book, and but I decided to do one of a bunch of Venom books. So I've got Amazing Spider-Man 300, Web of Spider-Man 1, Lethal Protector 1 through 6, Funeral Pyre 1 through 3, and The Madness 1 through 3 in here. So this is essentially right after I made this, Marvel came out with the Omnibus, which collects just about all that. So it was a big waste of time, but I saved a lot of money because I already had all the single issues, and I wouldn't want to rebuy it for $125 when I've already got it. So that's a fun option. I'm going to do a series of videos showing how it is I made this. I had a dust jacket printed for it, and I look forward to showing you guys how to make that. It's a lot of work, but if you really like collected editions and want to make some of your own, you can. Now that's all I've got. Be sure to like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, let me know how I can do things better. And thanks for tuning in. Bye.